Well, the lies around HBO's Velma series just seems to be continuous because for whatever reason, the media feels the need to try and spin an absolute train wreck of a series into a positive and just ends up making it even more embarrassing because of the lengths that they have to go to in order to make it seem like this Velma show is a massive runaway success. As we have a tweet here from CBR where they link to their article and they say, despite largely negative reviews and also becoming the worst rated animated show on IMDb ever because it's that bad, Velma won its debut week, beating out fellow HBO series The Last of Us. So what it makes it seem like there is that Velma is getting a bigger viewership than The Last of Us. It's apparently, we're all wrong, you see. It's actually really that good a series that all these people are watching it. It's beat The Last of Us. At least that's what it makes it seem like, but it's of course, I can't help but smell the stench of horseshit. I just can't, just for the... It's hilarious that, I've seen people buying into this very easily without reading the article. So I suppose we should have a look at how this has beat HBO, The Last of Us. In what way has it beaten The Last of Us? But they say Velma's popularity spikes by 127%, despite overwhelmingly negative reviews. It's very, very odd, that, isn't it? It's very odd. Despite receiving an overwhelming amount of negative reviews from critics and viewers, because it's a terrible show, Mindy Kaling's adult animated series Velma still managed to become one of the week's most popular shows, just not in the way that you would want it to be popular, as we'll soon find out. In Parrots Analytics, which we're going to talk about in a moment, latest data series report from The Wrap, it has been revealed that the Scooby-Doo series has secured the second spot on this week's rankings for the most in-demand shows. In-demand is the key word there, placing a bit higher than The Last of Us. Following its debut last Jan 12th, the series unexpectedly attracted a lot of attention in the US, and not good attention, bad attention. As the demand for the show increased up to 127%, Velma's viewership, so they literally say viewership, I don't know how they got any of this, considering HBO Max hasn't released any of their numbers because the show is obviously not doing well. Velma's viewership performance this week is 37.3 times higher than an average series. So if we actually go to the Wrap's article, they say, jinkies, Velma demand surges 127%. A critic-defying win for HBO Max. Now, the only win for HBO Max to win with this show, it has to be getting millions of viewers. Do we honestly think it's doing that? No, we don't, because it isn't. They say, in this weekly data series, powered by Parrot Analytics, we look at the top breakout shows of the past week. Breakout shows are the most in-demand series, not watched, in demand, that have premiered in the past 100 days. As much as people may love to hate both the show and Mindy Kaling, HBO Max's Velma saw a whopping 127% increase in demand and rose up to take second place on this week's ranking of the most in-demand new shows. According to Parrot Analytics data, which takes into account consumer research, streaming downloads, and social media, among other engagement. So essentially, Parrot's Analytics, they don't know the viewership. It's all based on... So if I go on Twitter and type, Velma is an absolute piece of shit, dog shit pile of shit, that will count that towards, oh, it's in demand. Even though I've said something... So it's got nothing to do with viewership whatsoever. They don't have that. Only HBO Max has that. It's just based on, Google searches and, typing some hashtags and stuff. That's all it's based on. So they try... Again, everybody's been talking about it in a negative sense. So therefore, that is a win. when the negative backlash to it, it's not getting more people to watch it. So you see where they have to go to, the lengths they have to go to in order to make it seem like Velma is a massive success. And all it's done is just show, oh, people are talking about it a lot because it's so bad. They're not actually watching it. It's just the fact people are putting out on social media what is happening in the show, and people are trashing it. And you're trying to paint that as a win. Just but in popularity, you know, it's hilarious that that's what they have to go to in order to make Velma look like a success. So all this shit from CBR saying Velma's no, don't start talking about viewership. You don't have those figures. So they're effectively lying here. Less people have been talking about The Last of Us because The Last of Us isn't fucking shit. Whereas Velma is terrible, so more people are gonna jump on it to rip into it because it's fun to mock trash. So that's all that's happened, and they try to paint it as a win. Absolutely hilarious. So of course you had this tweet upsetting the no hate watching crowd. You know, they were out with the pitchforks. We told you not to hate watch. It's like, do you honestly think people are watching this shit? The only people watching Velma are people like me who I guess hate themselves. But that's about it. I don't think anybody else is watching this series. So you can put the pitchforks down. But yeah, it's like so obvious. It's like most people are catching on to it that, like as this person says, demand is not the same as viewers. Yeah, they're trying to paint it as that in demand somehow translates, like people trashing it online somehow translates to viewership. So essentially what Para Analytics is a scam. They are hired by the likes of Amazon and HBO Max, and they report back saying, oh, this show is fucking doing really well. You've got a hit on your hands, even though that's not turning up in the viewership. So Para Analytics is a scam. So yeah, if you ever... Apparently I've heard that I think even the Rings of Power and some, you know, Star Trek Discovery maybe, they've used that in the past to try and paint their show as a win, even though it's getting nothing whatsoever. So that's what we're dealing with. But yeah, it's funny to me that you go to this length to make it seem like, oh, Velma's this big runaway success. Yeah, it's just in the sense that people are talking about it on Twitter, Google searching it based on how horrific it is. That's all it comes down to. I just type out, wow, Velma's a piece of shit, and they go, oh, it's rising in demand, it's popular. No, I don't understand how it makes it popular when people are talking about it in a negative sense. But there you have it. That is the truth of the situation. Clearly, CBR, with that tweet there, are clearly trying to paint the picture of viewership. That's why they're being very vague about it. So I don't necessarily blame anyone for believing it, but it was obvious this show is not doing well in numbers. If it was, HBO Max would be screaming it from the rooftops, but they're not, because it's probably not even breaking 1 million, probably less than a couple 100,000 at the most, or all of that. You know, I really don't know, but I don't think it's doing well. If it was doing well, again, HBO Max would be screaming it from the rooftops. We've already seen when The Last of Us on HBO did well. In viewership, HBO Max told us because it was doing well. Soon as something doesn't do well, they stop talking about it. They don't put the numbers out into the public. But there you have it. That is the truth of the situation. Just more lies. For some reason, the shows that the media has to defend is always the worst of the worst. You know, I always just have the question on my mind, why this show? It's always the terrible ones. But yes, Velma is not doing well in viewership, I can tell you that. People are just trashing it.